Let's go on now to an anniversary, a sad anniversary, the anniversary of the death of Queen Elizabeth II on September the 8th. The Palace has announced there will be no official public event to mark the first anniversary. King Charles says we'll spend the day quietly and privately reflecting on the life of his mother. Joining me now, royal commentator Sarah-Louise Robertson. Now, obviously, I mean, you know, for the vast majority of us, we have no knowledge of these things anyway. Is this something that would normally happen?
Yes, it is, Penny. The King Charles has decided to follow in his late mother, the Queen's footsteps. She herself, when she lost her father, King George VI, she decided to spend the first anniversary of her father's death in private mourning. It also marked her accession to the throne. And the King is following in his mother's footsteps and doing exactly the same thing. And I think it's something that the Queen would approve of, that it is just a private day of reflection for the King and for other members of the royal family as well.
So when you say other members of the royal family, would there be a gathering, a coming together of people, or would it be everybody in their separate homes?
There is nothing formal going to happen to mark the Queen's death within the family. What it'll just be is King Charles will be staying at Balmoral. Well, he's not actually staying at Balmoral. He will be hosting various dignitaries and people at Balmoral. He himself will be staying at Balmoral, his private residence, and shuttling backwards and forwards with Queen Camilla as and when guests arrive. But he will be seeing members of the royal family, his brothers, his sister, and they will just quietly come together in what is a day of reflection. But I think everybody will just want to be with their own thoughts and maybe have a toast later on in the evening, you know, depending on what the schedule of that day is for other members of the royal family. But the King himself is just wanting it to just be a very private day.
So there won't even be church service involved? There'll be nothing where anybody can take a photograph of him, essentially?
No, you will not see them, no. They're going to be, as I say, remaining in private, just as the Queen did. And what we will see later is maybe the Cabinet Office has said that what will happen later in the year is that there will be a memorial erected to Queen Elizabeth II in honour of her memory and her legacy. But in terms of Charles himself, King Charles himself and Queen Camilla, they've said if people, the public, want to mark the day in their own way, they can, by all means, but you will not see them attending any specially arranged memorials or anything of that ilk. It's just for them, it's just a day of anniversary, a day of mourning, a day of remembering their mother as a mother, rather than us knowing her as the Queen.
Yeah, it's a Friday, September the 8th. I don't know whether that makes any difference whatsoever. When we talk about a memorial to the Queen, what sort of memorials are there that are actually planned and in the pipeline?
Well, the Cabinet Office have not released the details yet. When I say memorial, I think it's going to be something like a sort of permanent statue or something of that ilk to remember her by. But they haven't got to releasing those discussions yet as to what that will pertain. Obviously, it will have to have the approval of King Charles III. And agreed with the government as well. And also they'll also take into the cost. You know, we are going through a cost of living crisis where Republican sentiment, unfortunately, has gathered a bit of speed and pace in this country. So I think people are mindful of all of those things and those details, and will be doing something, I think, that will be modest, because the Queen herself was modest, and I think it will reflect the Queen's modest nature. She would be horrified at the thought of some sort of, I don't know, Soviet-style enforced, you know, Lenin sort of statue. You know, she would think that was abhorrent and disgraceful. So they'll be bearing, you know, in mind what the Queen herself was like, and it'll just be something, I think, very small and dignified, but in keeping with the great woman that she was, and that we all miss.
Just very briefly, how do you think King Charles is settling into his role?
I think he's doing his best. I mean, the thing is, he's been in this role in waiting since the day he was born, which must be so strange, really, for the Queen, because, you know, when he came, she would have been looking at him thinking, you're the person that's going to replace me. And so he's watched his mother and he's always been really the king in waiting. That's been his role, and now, you know, he officially steps into it, and it just now feels to me that he's always been doing that. I can't remember him being as Prince Charles. I just think of him as king now. So I think he's actually doing really quite well, and I think it's gone on the whole, apart from, you know, some things that have happened with the Sussexes and a few government things, I think it has been quite smooth for him, and I think he'll be probably secretly quite pleased, but I don't think he'll rest on his laurels. I think he has a lot of work that he wants to do. He did say that when he took the throne, when he took the crown, that he's got a lot of things he wants to put in place, and this first year was just him really finding his feet. And now he's done that, I think we'll really start to see King Charles really start to govern and come into his own. So there's going to expect some more from King Charles after we've seen the first anniversary of the Queen's death, the late Queen's death. We're going to see a lot more of Charles. He's going to up the ante.
Thank you so much. That's Sarah-Louise Robertson, a royal commentator.